Hey everybody, this is Erica from the Classy Climb blog. You can reach me at www.classyscl.com. And today in our Slow and Low series, we have Juan Pablo, or however he likes to introduce himself. I like to call him Mr. 100% Finance. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I like that introduction. It was pretty classy.
so, um, so today I'm in Texas, and you know Texas is a ball of weather. Where are you at? I know you're globetrotting. Where are you at today?
Yeah, I normally stay on the East Coast, but I'm in Atlanta right now.
Okay. All right.
Marietta, to be more exact. Marietta, Georgia.
Okay, right. Okay, got you. I think I know where that is. Um, so today I want to start off and let people, get a good view of you and make sure they get back to your videos. And so, uh, where did you grow up, and how did this, the entrepreneurial bug kind of get into your soul?
Oh, cool. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Well, I was born there, I should say. Now I lived there until I was 10 years old, and then
Mhm.
we flew down to Atlanta. So I pretty much consider myself to be a Georgia boy. So I was raised in Atlanta from 10 till I went to University of Georgia, and then after graduating, broke with bad credit and no job lined up, it kind of sucked. I went back home living with my mom, so I'm kind of like reaching out for her, and I didn't feel, too comfortable with that. But she gave me something that really just transformed my life. She gave me a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. After I read that book, that's like one of the first two books I've actually read outside of like textbooks in my life. And I never was an avid reader. I am now, but back then I wasn't. But once I got that book, I read it straight through, and that's like from that day forward, I was like, I want to be a real estate investor. I made the decision. Yeah. And then years later, it manifested itself.
I love that book. I love when people quote that book. It's for some reason that book kind of like jump starts people's like, oh, I could do all kind of stuff. So
Right.
I
It's like
love that book.
philosophy. It gives you like the mindset, the frame of thinking you should have in regard to business, especially with your incomes and what's really an asset and what's not. Yeah, after reading that book, and I always had an affinity for houses anyway. Like I used to go out on dates. Like we would just go to open houses. You know, uh, I mean, for one, it was free, so that was a biggie. I didn't have to pay anything to take a girl to an open house. For two, they normally had like food there, like hors d'oeuvres or appetizers and stuff like that. And three, I guess in her mind, she probably thought I had money because we were looking at houses, but I didn't. So I always had like a great affinity for just going out there, and it just connected. And I just rather I use real estate as my vehicle of choice for investing.
I love that whole thing. Like I took her to the house. She probably thought I had money. I mean, I just
Yeah, it's all,
all
all
kind of
about
things
the
can happen
mindset.
from that. Yeah, all kind of things can happen from that day, good and bad. So
Right. And if I'm not feeling her, at least I didn't have to miss out on any money. Because I'm gonna say, oh, I had a call, I got to do this, I got to do that, so I can just kind of skip the day if I wasn't too interested. So I
my
was just
friend here,
back. Uh-huh.
my friend here does ice cream dates because he's like, oh, the ice cream's gone and she's not the one. I gotta go.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Just keep it simple. That's how you do it.
So okay, your mom gave you this book. You're like, boom, you read it. You're ready to go. What was the next step you took after that?
The next step I would say is I reevaluated the things I was doing in life, and one of the things that I discovered is I need to change my associations. So instead of like hanging out with the normal crowd, I started to really start getting in different circles. All my time was spent either at that time was either at some day job I had. I used to make the daily paper. So even though I had a college degree, I used to have like ink all on my clothes and stuff like that because I used to do manual labor. I got a job through a temp agency, and that's what they had available. So I was either there, I was in the library working on my resume and reading all different types of books, and I was at church. That was it. If I wasn't there, I was in the bed asleep. I stopped hanging out. I put social life on pause, and I just got really serious, and it started panning out. I started changing my associations. And when I mean associations, I don't mean just people, but like the books that I associated with. Or instead of watching TV, which is entertainment, let me watch something else or read something else that's more education. So that's what I started doing. I started changing what I did with my time, and
Man,
that's what changed.
I mean, I love that. You didn't even pick a bunch of new friends. You just changed your time. And I think it's Jim Rome or Zig Ziglar who are like, the things that will change you by next year is the people you associate with and the books you read.
Yes, yes, that's true, very true.
So, so if I was to go one, how do you encourage others to get started in business, get started in real estate? I mean, you know, I see your videos, but like, what step got you from point A to point B to where you have all your boys, as you like to call them, your,
Uh,
your boys?
my homies. I don't have them on me right now. They're chilling in my office right now, but I don't keep them on me. But so your question is, how would what got me to that point? I'm
So
still
it's a
trying to.
twofold. It's how did you get to that point, like where you went from you're working, you're going home, taking naps, you're in the library, to okay, you got your boys and you're kind of launching.
I think it's an old adage. I forgot who said it, but they say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, type of thing. So I was still, on my grind. I got a job in New York, and I met a guy who was successful in real estate, and he had a free meeting in Harlem once a month, over 600 members, and every month, like 6 people would show up, you know. And I was one of those 6, even though I used to travel like an hour and a half to get there from Jersey.
Hmm.
And when I first met with him, he was telling me about himself, how he has a gazillion properties, and he got this business, this and that. I'm like, okay, whatever, good for you. But he's like, so what do you want out of this association, out of this class? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I thought it'd be cool to own a property or two. And he was like, and he started to poke me in my chest like this. I didn't even know this guy. First time I meet him, he was like, my goal for you is for you to quit your day job. And I'm like, I'm kind of like, because he's in my comfort zone, because I don't know this cat. And he's like all up in me like this. So that's for one. But for two, it was a paradigm shift where I didn't even think that was a possibility. So just getting that exposure, that is a lifestyle that people can obtain. Because in my mind, again, it's like I always like to talk about that the mindset trumps the skill set. It's not always about what skills you have, but your frame of thinking, having the right philosophy. And in my mind at the time, I thought that you're supposed to have a corporate job, climb that ladder, white picket fence, what have you, big fat nest egg by retirement 40 years from now. And when he said that, I realized that, you know what, that's the lifestyle I want to live. So that's what really pushed me. Again, it all comes back to that association. I changed my association. I found someone who's a mentor, someone who's successful at something that I want to be successful at. And I think that's like one of the keys to becoming successful is find someone successful at it and just copy their style. It's so easy. Just duplicate it. Instead of going through all this trial and error trying to do it yourself and you all make all these mistakes, bump and scrape your knee and all that. Just find someone who's successful, who has an abundant mindset, who doesn't mind sharing what he knows, and just copy him. And of course, you can add your own little twist and flavor to it. And I think that what helped me get people to, I guess, watch my videos or what have you, is I know how it is to be poor, because I grew up poor. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. So I know how it is to struggle, have bad credit, have no money, have no one in your family who's really making moves financially. In fact, having people with those other mindsets, the poor mentality, where they're like, yo, like my uncle at Thanksgiving, he's like, yo, let me show you how you can get free TVs from Rent-A-Center. Get free flat screens and stereo system and get all free furniture. This is what you do. Step one, right? Right before you're about to end your lease with your old apartment, go to Rent-A-Center, fill out the application, put the whole, this is kind of stuff I was brought up in. Or having utility bills and your nephew's name, he's like 8 years old or something like that. Stuff like that, like how to get over, how to scam people. So early on, I thought, that's how you get wealthy, or that's how you get possessions in life, is through doing something that's not credible, you know. And being in that an environment and reading books as well, like Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr. Stephen Covey, when he talks about the abundance mentality. And it's like, you know what, you don't have to do something immoral to become wealthy. You know, there doesn't have to be a dichotomy between the two. And then once I start realizing that, then it was just easy for me to relate that to people, since I have a firm understanding of that. And I kind of like Rich Dad Poor Dad, having a poor dad and a rich dad. I kind of had that similar, I guess, upbringing once I became an adult.
Did that not just blow your mind when he started telling you that? Did you not just go, wow, like, I
Yeah.
can't believe you're still there in that mindset? You know what I mean? Did that not, did you have a moment where you're like, wow?
Yeah, and so that was the first moment. Like, I met with him 30 minutes prior to class, and then during the class, I met another friend, is one of my good friends, Jr. And he said he bought a condo in New York, in the Bronx, and he said, yeah, I got 100% finance. I'm like, what does that mean, 100% finance? He's like, oh, I got this condo without using my own money, and I have a tenant in there, and I'm making money off of it. And I'm like, you can do that? Like that, just to meet this guy for the first time, and to meet someone that's one of his I guess followers, students, whatever, and for
Right.
him to say something like that, I was just like, wow, this is, and for them to be people of, you know, of color, or of young people as well. So that was really like a game changer for me. And I'm like, yo, if he can do it, I can do it.
Well,
You know?
see, also your friend that was talking about the renter center thing, did that blow your mind? Because that's like, you know, like when someone shares that, you go, dude, I wouldn't tell nobody that. You know what I mean? Like that
Right.
that would be that would be my first instinct. Like, oh, you don't need to tell nobody about that, man. You need to be quiet about that.
Right. Keep that on the hush. Right. Keep it on the low. But yeah, it was like Dr. Stephen Covey says, it was a paradigm shift. And during that class, it was crazy because I thought, like, I didn't know what they were talking about. I felt like a fifth grader in a college course. They were talking
Wow.
about return on investment, and this is the gross rent multiplier, or this is how you do this, or you get an SBA loan for that. And I'm just like, it was all Chinese, but yeah, but I felt like I belonged there though. So I'm like, even though I don't understand it, I feel like this is like my new circle, my new family, and I just kept coming. And then sooner or later, that's why repetition is so important in regard to like your associations, because you start to think like the people you associate with, and then their mindset spills on your mindset. Same thing from books. That's why I think you said Dr. or Jim Rohn said that, because you're pouring people's mindsets, their philosophies into yours, and you start to be just like them, and that's what happened.
I
And
mean, that's it's so very true. Like you've hit 3 or 4 tweetables already. I mean, one, follow somebody and copy them. And I ended up starting a business here in Austin, literally because I just asked the guy a few questions and copied it. I mean, I didn't try to start the wheel over. I
there
just
you go.
copied the steps of success, and I made it very simple for myself. Um, but that friend that was talking about Rent a Center, do you think, how do you reach
Uncle.
someone like that?
My uncle.
I know. How do you reach an uncle and be like, Uncle, look what I'm doing over here. You can do this as well.
Oh, it's funny you asked that, because now I have a monthly group call, so now he's a part of that call.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so now he and most of my properties are in his market where he lives in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So he assists me with management of the property as well as maintaining the grounds. So he's actually an employee of mine now, and
Awesome.
he's learning stuff, like he has, being that he screwed Rent a Center over, what have you. But now he's improving his credit. He's getting additional income. He's incorporating businesses. So he's changing. So it's all about being a person of influence.
Oh,
Influencing your environment and not be influenced by your environment. You know, once you make it to a certain point.
oh yeah, becoming a sphere of influence so other people see you and go, oh, well, thank you for that information. Thank you for that extra. I love that. I love that. Um, so like, trying to think of the best way to say it. So So the time frame it took for you to change when you start going to those money meetings, would you say it was a year? Would you say it was 2 years? More?
Mm. Uh, it took some time. Like I always like to use analogies. Even my friends, my homies, they're all like, "No, just say what you want to say, man. Like, why you always got to use an analogy or paint a picture?" I'm like, "Yo, that's the way I think. That's the way I think." And then to me, it's all about like a seed analogy, right? You plant a seed, you don't expect results the next day, right? That's why it's called seed time and harvest, right? There's some
Yep.
time in between. There's a gestation period for that seed to grow, to mature before you see the fruits of it, right? So I think when I went to the class and this and that, the seed was planted, and then after going to the group monthly or what have you, or reading books or listening to other podcasts, that seed began to water. And I would say by 2013, that's when it really started to take off. Even though I joined the group in 2009, October 2009. So it
So
took a
the
while. I was still doing some deals here and there, but it wasn't like exponential. It was like a slow, linear process. And I got frustrated with it. And then I started thinking, it's always good for self-reflection. I'm like, how can I go from linear to exponential? And it just came. And I started finding, that's why I got the website 100% financing. So if I can finance an income-producing asset 100% without using my own capital, then my savings is negligent. It doesn't matter what my savings are, or it might not matter what my credit is, as long as I can pull all the resources together, be an entrepreneur, and be that synergistic glue that pulls all the pieces together. I can get paid off of that, and that's when I started doing that. So it doesn't matter what I have in the bank or what my credit score is now, because I have a certain frame of mind, a frame of thinking.
and you also have assets on paper. So if anybody asks, like,
Yeah.
hey,
that builds credibility though when you're raising capital for
yeah,
investment.
you're like, my credit may be crazy, but look at that, you know?
Oh, it's good now. It's good now. That's one of the first things I did was I repaired my credit before I bought a deal. It took me 2 years to get my credit straight, and I bought my first home in 2010.
See, that's the thing I try to tell people. I'm like, things take time, and I think sometimes we put stuff on Facebook and Instagram, and our friends are like, "Man, you still working on that?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm still working on it. It takes time."
Yeah, and time is really your friend. You know, it's a lot of stuff you're trying to figure out there. You're doing the interim, and it's just that's where growth happens. Once you plant the idea, you need time to figure things out. So that it really takes time because, to be honest with you, it's really you're rescripting your paradigms because you're growing up with one mode of thinking like, oh, I'm supposed to be an employee. If I'm not an employee, then I won't get money and I won't be successful. Now,
Yep.
if you have a new idea in there about you don't have to be an employee to be successful. I mean, you don't have to be broke as an entrepreneur. You don't have to be a struggling entrepreneur. And then it's like once that part of your thinking starts to grow, then it be like your old paradigm and this new paradigm are at war with each other and that's why it takes some time because you have to get rid of that old way of thinking. And
Oh,
if
oh
you
yeah.
do that new way of thinking, then it's like, all right, now it's time for it to grow. It's just like planting a seed next to a weed.
Uh, the
That weed.
the best thing I think about that is, like, I'll meet people who are real estate agents, and they're waking out, and I go, well, what's your numbers? What do you need to make? And once they calm down, all of a sudden you realize they just need to get one lease a week, sell one house every 3 months. Once the numbers they have kind of come into play, like it took some time for them to get from employee working every day, getting a paycheck every day, to oh, well, I already did 10 leases this month. I'm good. Or I think it takes a minute to go from when people are going to work every day, 9 to 5, they're jumping up every morning and getting paid for their hours, to the other side of that, where there's endless possibilities, where you could own companies, you could be self-employed, anything. I just noticed a lot of those things take time, no matter who I talk to.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's not overnight. Like I'm sure anyone who might be like an overnight success, it really didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
It just caught fire. But it was a spark that happened a way long time ago. And for some reason, some fuel got on it, and then it just sparked off. But yeah, it doesn't happen overnight, in my opinion.
So, like, if I were to go, Juan, I need you to come uh, talk to a friend. What would be the three things you would do? Like if he needed to start his life over, he's like, man, I need to start over. What three things would you kind of hint for him to do, or get if he wanted to get started today? Like he want to be like Juan, I want to be like you. What can I do, Juan?
Oh, okay. I'm gonna give you another analogy. Is that okay?
Yeah, I love
uh,
it. Go all day.
I provide coaching to people, and to me, it's kind of like you have to figure out, like Dr. Stephen Covey, the end from the beginning. So where do you want to go? Like, just say you want to go to that place, New York City, right? You want to see the Empire State Building, what have you. That's your destination. Where's your starting port? Okay, I'm in Austin, Texas. All right, great. So you know where you're at currently, and you know where you want to go. How aggressive do you want to be to get to that endpoint? What vehicle do you want to use? Do you want to take the slow and steady scenic route? Do you want to take the cheap route and avoid the tolls? You know, just take the long way? Or do you want to be aggressive and say, you know what? I'm just going to take every toll, or you know what? I'm going to fly, or whatever. Whatever resources you have that's available. You might not have the resources right now for a bike. I mean, for a car. But you might have it for a bike, or you might not have it for a car. You might have it for a plane, or what have you. So that's why I like to tell people, what do you want out of life? Do you want to be able to wake up whenever you feel like it? Do you want to have that no alarm clock living lifestyle? You want to get that mailbox money, passive income, take a break whenever you feel like it, take a 2-hour lunch break, have an alcoholic beverage on your lunch break, maybe two. You know, like, do you want to do that, or do you like to read more? Whatever that lifestyle is, I like to paint it in vivid details, write it down. It's very important. Write it down exactly what you want, your lifestyle, and not necessarily just metrics like numbers. You know, that's important too. So you write the numbers down and you paint the picture. You paint the picture. Well, in order for goals to be attained, you got to have metrics, specifics like time frame, the amount, this and that. It has to be quantifiable. Every goal has to be quantifiable, measurable. Otherwise, it's just a fantasy, right? So that's one thing. But the second thing is you gotta paint the picture of that lifestyle so that the person can incorporate their emotions, because your emotions give fuel to that desire, to that end goal that you want. So I tell them, all right, so what is that end goal? So they have that. Then I say, all right, where's your starting point? Let me see your personal financial statement. Oh, what's that? Let me see your income statement. I don't know what the income statement is, or what's the balance sheet. So then we go over, I show them how to fill out their personal financial statement, see what their credit score is. And again, I'm taking a look at their starting point, which is Austin, Texas, their current financial situation. And then we'll say, all right, how aggressive do you want to be here? Do you want to get this financial free lifestyle in 5 years? Would you like it in 4? I think it's reasonable to do in 5. Would you like to do it in 10? Take the slow and steady route, or do you want to be aggressive? Then once we find out how aggressive they want to be, and we assess their risk tolerance and things like that, then we'll say, all right, this might be the best way to get there. So that's what I like to do first. Just so I think when you do that, then that's when you really know exactly what you want. You can get it.
I love that you're saying where are they at, because I meet a lot of people who are like, I want to be over here, right? They go, I want to have a hot model wife, drive a Corvette, live in this neighborhood. Okay, what? Okay. First off, you're a two, and you work for UPS, or you know what I'm saying, or something ridiculous. Like their starting point is so ridiculous.
Man, they got
Or
to be too.
they're 45.
Right.
They're 40. I'm not knocking UPS. UPS makes good money now. If you're a driver, you make good money. But or you're the guy who is 45 and you're dating some 20. You want to date 25-year-olds. You know, and I'm like, okay, well, first off, let's assess where we're at. Like, let's all assess where we're at. And I think that's so hard for people to go, I'm here, and oh, how far will it take? And so I think I always congratulate people when I interview them if they do coach, because that's hard. That's hard to be a truth bringer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to say, hey, dude, it's going to take 5 years to get where you got to go. Because I mean, that could really, crush some people's feelings or dreams, but not really crush them, but just kind of give them that shake of whole truth.
I have one student I'm coaching now, and we had a 3-hour conversation the first call, and I normally like to keep it like an hour, for the introduction goes 3 hours, and the reason why it took so long is because he had a belief, right, that you got to be there for your family no matter what. through thick and thin, I'm gonna be there to support you if you're down in the ditch or whatever. And which I understand that. But this was kind of different because he owned 3 rental properties and he had family members living in there not paying rent for months on end.
No, no.
Yeah, and he wanted coaching, and I'm like, well, sorry to say this, but you have to start the eviction process for your family members. And I'm like, well, it's tax season now, right? You got to pay taxes. He's like, yeah, property taxes. I'm like, I mean, who's gonna pay for it? Are they gonna pay for it? No. And he's like, if I do it, they won't love me. And it's not. I'm like, bro, it's you got to do what you got to do, man. That's a part of being a business owner. You got to make those tough decisions. I mean, you were generous enough to let your family members reside in your place. And it's one thing they're not paying rent, but if they're not upkeeping it and he's saying it's not in good condition, I'm like, bro, you gotta pull the trigger, man. So stuff like that, it could be tough as well, giving it to them straight, because that's what I try to tell them. Like, as a coach, I'm not here to be your homeboy. I got homeboys for that. We can talk about basketball or whatever, but when I'm coaching you, I want to get results out of you. That's what I want to see. I want to see results. I'm not trying to be your friend, So.
That's a tough one too, especially when you only have three or four units. If you had a apartment complex and your family got 3 units and they're a little behind, it hurts, but not as bad as if you just got three and all three of them are not paying. That sucks.
Yeah, I had to tell them like this, like, I understand you're a giving person, you're generous, I said, but just keep in mind, right? I'm all for charity. If you tithe or you give offerings or you give to any other charitable organization, I'm all for that, right? I said, however, you can't be charitable if you're not profitable. They're hindering you from being charitable. As a business person, you're supposed to make a profit.
If you're drowning, you can't save someone else.
Sorry?
If you're drowning, you can't save somebody else in the water.
Yeah, and my homeboy JR, the one that told me about getting a condo 100% finance, we actually had dinner with him last month. He said the same thing, bro. He said the same analogy. He says when a victim is drowning, you don't go in there because they're going to try to bring you down. You wait until they exhaust themselves out, and then you jump in and save them.
Trust me, as a person learning to swim, I have many times with friends. I'm like, I didn't try to keep
progress.
I was just trying to go. Yeah.
Swimming is fun. I used to be a lifeguard in high school, so.
Oh yeah. I mean, here out in Austin, Texas, I'm from North Carolina, and North Carolina had made it to a point where they had so many drownings, they were making kids get swim lessons in college in order to graduate. So huh?
No, I said what?
Yeah, it's bad. In Durham one time they had a family having a picnic at a lake, and one teenager goes in. Well, the 3 more teenagers try to go in and save that one teenager, and then they all drown. And the family's just standing on the bank yelling for help, and it's like there was a whole family reunion at a lake, and no one could swim. And those are, unfortunately, I've heard that story 2 or 3 times now from Durham and from Greensboro, and so they just made it mandatory. Like, if you go to college, you want to graduate, got to pass swim tests. North Carolina wants to change some things, so.
Oh, where'd you go?
East Carolina University.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
The Pirates. I mean, and we always get dogged out, but last year we beat UNC Chapel Hill 7-41. Then we beat NC State 2 years in a row. I mean, they all were like, please, no more. So, so this is my thing. When I meet people and I talk about real estate, because right now I'm in the process of trying to get with some investors and get an apartment complex, a small one here, either in Dallas or Houston, Texas. Okay. And so what happens is when I always talk to people who I know make good income, they're like, man, my credit's horrible. My credit's horrible. What can I tell them and what can I encourage them to do?
Are you using them as private lenders?
There are some people on that list who are private lenders who just have horrible credit.
I would definitely use them. I think that is like a big misconception that if you have bad credit you can do real estate investing. Even on a larger scale with multifamily, you still can. What you can do, I just did a multifamily deal in December 2014. That's the last one I did, and we had 2 partners. And even though my credit is decent, if you own less than 20% in the entity, the mortgage brokers, they won't qualify you for. They won't check your credibility. They won't check your credit, but they'll check the majority holder, anyone who has 20% ownership or more. So you'll be strategic in that sense. So if one of your friends, has a good paying job, or even let's say he's a drug dealer, he's all this mattress money, just stacks on stacks on stacks, right? Just in the mattress. And he's like, hey, I want to give you $100,000 or whatever to invest. As long as he owns less than 20% ownership in the entity, they won't ask him a single question. So even me, I was a general partner in this multifamily we did. I had 19% ownership. They didn't ask me for my tax returns. They didn't ask me for a credit report. They didn't ask me for my personal financial statement. None of that stuff.
That's crazy.
So if that person has money, to me, as long as you bring 1 of 3 things to the table. The time, meaning you're the guy who's bringing the deal together. You're doing all the work, the analysis. You know all the resources, the connections, the realtors, appraisers, property inspections, all those people. And you have someone else who's bringing the capital, mainly for the down payment, and someone else who has the credit that can qualify for the loan. Then that's all you need.
See, right there, boom. You just solved like 20 people's problems who see this video later today.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need good credit. Even on a smaller scale, if you're doing single family, you don't need to have good credit as well. You can always use creative financing. That's what really gave me that exponential growth, is using creative financing. But it just helps when you have decent credit. Someone told me if you have a little bit of money and decent credit, the world's your oyster when it comes to real estate investing. But if you don't have the credit, that's the point of partnerships, where someone is weak in an area, you become strong, and vice versa. So if you're weak in credit, find someone who got the decent credit. There's plenty of people out there,
So, do you know, have you ever heard of Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher?
No, I never heard of him. Eric Thomas?
Yeah. Basically,
I'll look him up, though.
YouTube, do it. You'll love it.
Okay.
So I'm going to his conference this year on Saturday, and I'm going to Houston, Texas. And I was telling somebody, hey, man, I'm going to this conference by Eric Thomas. And they're like, wow, you can see his YouTube videos online for free. Why would you go to the conference? And I go, I'm not just going for him. I'm going for all the people I'm going to meet while I'm there. And I think some people, they get stuck on this free. I don't know what it is. They think they can get everything for free. And as far as like when you went through your process of like that association you joined, where you met with the guy that had 6 members there and other things, haven't you had to pay along the way a little bit to get knowledge or get access to things?
Yeah, well, actually, that course was free, and that's why I think only 6 people showed up, because I think people place a value on something that has a dollar sign attached to it. So if he was charging maybe $200 a month membership, I'm sure that his membership will be like down the door. But being that it's free, people are like, I don't think it's valuable. So, but his was free, but I didn't just rely on just one mentor. I had multiple mentors. So I always have a library. I will always buy books. I will go to the library and read books, or I will subscribe to certain websites or YouTube. I did a lot of learning, and I think a lot of people don't realize a lot of stuff is free. Like, we're in an information age. You can go to your local library, go on YouTube, go on iTunes or whatever, and you can download this information, get access to this information at low cost. You just got to take advantage of your resources. That's to me, like, in the day and age that we're in, there's no reason why you should not be rich. You're broke because you want to be broke.
That's literally a book by Larry Winget. The title of what you just said.
Oh, really?
You want to be Larry?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to read it, but it's definitely true, because I'm like, and there's people out there as well. So you can always have a person, an in-person mentor that you can have lunch with, and they're all over the place, and doing stuff online and going to the library, and you can just learn the game inside and out. And then once you learn the game inside and out, you have a system, you can spoon feed other people who are too lazy to do all the research themselves, but you can charge them a premium.
That's right.
Yep.
So I know on your blog you say you're in between New York and Atlanta.
Yes.
Do you invest in your areas or outside your areas, or do you invest for what's best
Outside. Outside.
outside?
I have a residence in Jersey City, which is close to New York City, and as well as in Atlanta, where I'm at now. But once I was in New York City, simply because the prices of houses is huge. Like I got a duplex in Jersey City, where I stay at times. I bought it for $355,000. But meanwhile, I bought a 9-unit in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for $218,000 for
Oh,
non-renting apartment building. So I always invested outside of state, and I also self-manage it. Well, not now. I'm outsourcing it now. I hired my sister, so she's taking all the tenant calls for me and stuff like that. So but yeah, I always like to remind myself that I'm an entrepreneur. I don't want anything to demand my time. My time should be spent working on the business and not in the business.
um,
So if I continue to work on the business and grow it and expand it, everything else gets outsourced. I don't know how to change a doorknob. I don't never want to learn how to change a doorknob. I know how to unclog a toilet because, personally, I got to unclog my own toilet at times. But for another tenant, no, I'm not going to do that. Stuff like that, I build that into my business model. Repairs, vacancies, allowances. Like I said, I have my uncle knocking on doors for me or showing up for court on my behalf. I don't fly to Pennsylvania to show up for court. I'll pay him a couple dollars to do that for me, and I just tell him how to do it. I'm not paying an attorney either, and pay him $600 to do it, where I can just have my uncle do it for $75. Only he's, and only thing I do is just mail the check out to the courthouse, stuff like that. So it forces you when it's out of state, it forces you to be very creative, and we're living in a great age now where you can do a lot of stuff online, and it's fairly simple. So yeah, I don't bet in my backyard. I may start investing in Atlanta since I spend a lot of time here now, but I just like to invest in emerging markets where the price point is low and it's only upswing or appreciation for appreciation, I should say.
there is a great person you should, if you get a chance or an opportunity to cook up with. They're down there. It's Paula Pant. Her blog is called Afford Anything, and
I like that.
she's actually in Atlanta, and she actually invests in Atlanta, and like some of her deals are like amazing. I think she owns like 8 or 10, I don't know, houses or units or different triplexes and duplexes in Atlanta. There's another woman. Maybe I can hook y'all up. I don't know if I can. Her name is Allie Boone because she spends a lot of time in LA now, but she started investing in Atlanta because that's where she was at, and she was like Atlanta was so cheap for her. She was like now Atlanta's a little bit more because people kind of realize it's a cheap market, but
She got
uh,
it early.
oh yeah, she got in and went crazy, So, but those are two women down there who. That's the only reason I was like, man, I need to go check out Atlanta and
You said
Augusta. I need to go
you
find out
said
what's going on.
Paula Pant, like
Paula
pants.
Pant, like Pant.
Oh,
Afford anything. Not trying to give her free promo here, but you know what I'm saying.
right, right.
But affordanything.com is her blog, and then Allie Boom is hipsterinvestments.com,
Oh,
and he's big on talking to people about turnkey properties, which is really big in Atlanta where you're at because I've looked for stuff there. Um, gosh, there's like 3 or 4 people that are doing it really big in Atlanta, and like, have you ever heard of Bigger Pockets?
Bigger pockets, yes. The
Yes,
website.
they're on there. Allie and Paula Pant both got interviewed on there. They need to come interview you on there for real. So
Oh, I'll be honored.
um so I got like 2. I'm gonna try to wrap it up. I don't want to take up your whole day, but 2 of my last 2. So you're the business credit man. People can go on your site, they can get some coaching, they can learn from you, they can read your ebook, they can clean their credit up. Um, why did you Why do you choose real estate, and why do you think others should choose real estate?
Oh, great. It's an acronym. They say real estate's the ideal investment. And I chose after reading that book because I kind of like the aspect of having a hard asset that I can control.
Hmm.
You know, Even some stocks you might not have control. the CEO is caught in some type of affair or whatever, maybe the stock can go down. See, that's out of my control. I wanted to have control over my time as well as my income. And I felt like as a real estate investor, I have control over both. Anytime I want to raise, I just buy another property. And I can do whatever I want with my time. If I want to wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning, I can do that. If I want to stay up to 3 in the morning and then wake up at noon the next day, I can do that. So that's one of the main reasons. But back to the acronym, ideal investment is because you can get I's for income, which is the cash flow,
Mm-hmm.
the box money, the passive income, residual income. The D is depreciation, which is the phantom expense on your taxes, so you really don't have to pay taxes. Like I ended up breaking even this year, so I didn't owe any taxes. The E is equity. I like to buy properties with built-in equity, and you get principal pay down. So every month those tenants pay their rent, and you pay the mortgage, your equity is growing every single month, as you can use for leverage later. A is appreciation. Like if you buy an emerging market, let's say there's job growth or what have you, population growth, and there's low supply of housing, the appreciation goes up. And then you can pull that money out and buy another apartment complex. And the L's, my favorite, is leverage. Like 100% finance, you can get an income-producing asset that puts money in your pocket through leveraging. There's not too many asset classes where you can go to the bank and say, hey, let me borrow $800,000 so I can buy $1 million worth of, bonds or something like that.
Stocks, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they'll definitely do that for real estate.
Man, I love all the stuff you're saying. So I know I told you too. I'm gonna squeeze.
No, it's all good. I got time.
In there.
I'm going today. I don't got anything on my agenda after.
So with this money now, you have this money. You've hired your uncle. You've hired your sister. You got people working for you. You've grown that sphere of influence. Do you travel? Is there anything like you've got to do during your days? Like you got a personal chef or a workout buddy or a coach or something? Is there something you
I think it's levels to it. I was talking to my friend. I did a podcast. If you're free, I'd like to do a podcast with you too. I just started that. But I was talking about it's to me it's all about this formula I coined. It's called the PILE formula. Your PI, passive income, is greater than your LE, living expenses. So that's what everyone should aim for, so you can be wealthy, financially free. And to me, it's like you just got to pile up, because my mentor, Dwayne, he spends 5 or 6 months out of the year in Ibiza, or he'll be in Tel Aviv, or he'll be somewhere in Europe. So he's there just hanging out, partying, and he comes back to his place in Harlem, and he got a condo as well for his mom. So he's really balling. Me, I'm more like JV status right now. I might not be able to have a day job, but I'm not balling like I could be spending like months on end in another country. But I do. I am getting there, so I'm just continuing buying more and more assets. But it's cool. I don't have a chef or a cleaning lady or cleaning guy. Not really. I do travel like twice a month though, but I do a lot of local stuff. Like I might go to Chattanooga. Again, I might go to New York City. I go there often. Or I'll go to Miami, or I'll go to Indiana, or I'll go to LA. So I'm more like domestic with traveling. But it's like twice a month now.
But for people watching, boom, you're doing something they can't do. You don't have to show up for work. You're traveling freely. You've hired family. You know what I mean? So I always tell people, even if someone goes, well, I just do local stuff. That's awesome. Like there's some people I know live in Austin. Unfortunately, haven't even drove up to Dallas. I mean, I'm literally meeting people
right,
living in the same state, and like, I ain't never been there. What? So
yeah, it's great. That's why you gotta pay attention to your associations, because if you associate with people who are 10 times greater than you think the stuff you're doing is nothing. So it kind of forces you to grow to their level, because we all have that sense of belonging. We want to be like our peer group, keeping up with the Joneses, so to speak. But it's a good thing if you want to grow yourself though to their level. So that's what I always try to do. Make sure you still have, you always have those 3 levels of friends, people who are 10 times greater than you. Mm-hmm. Even though, like, this is the thing, some people feel inferior hanging around people like that. I'm like, dude, you should always be the dumbest person in the room. That's the best place to be, because you get to learn their wealth of knowledge. Yeah, and soak it in. And then you be on people on your level where they're making moves just like you, so you can like pick each other's brain and have fun and this and that. And then it'll be some people who are not at your level yet, but that you can mentor yourself, just so you can give back and help them out. It's like someone helped you.
I think Peter Vu calls it the guy who wrote 6 Months to Six Figures. He wrote maintenance friends. He calls them maintenance friends.
What's
Friends that help you grow, and then maintenance friends. Friends that you can always kick it with, you have barbecue with, or watch TV.
Oh yeah.
But there's no, it's just, it's like, yeah, we're hanging. I'm not gonna push them about, because I have some friends who, I'll be honest, I just hit the 30s, and
dirty 30.
And so when I talk to them, some of them are doing some stuff we were doing. We were 24, and I'm like, hey, I can't say anything because they haven't asked me to speak into it. They haven't asked for any opinions. They haven't asked for any growth. That's just where they are. And so at the end of the day, I still enjoy their friendship. I enjoy hanging out with them. I enjoy watching football with them, going to tailgating. But at the end of the day, I don't push them for that because that's not where they're at.
That's true.
And that's we're just on the level friends or something. You know what I mean? Peter View calls it maintenance friends, but I call it just, these are sometimes people you're just doing life with, and you don't have to push them necessarily.
Mm-hmm. And that's good you got friends like that. Like, you might have friends that you keep each other accountable, but then you have your other friends you just cracking jokes, drinking a beer, just doing whatever, shopping,
now if they ever ask me for like information or anything like that, then I'm more than willing to do so. But I just, I've learned not to take anything personal as far as from certain friends at certain levels, because it's like, that's not the path they're on. You know what I mean? You want to go with people that are on the same mission with you. And, part of the reason I even started doing these interviews is I was like, I'm hitting a ceiling. I need to stretch out and meet more people in my lane. And, like, this has just been a blessing to me and a blessing to people that have done the interviews. I love it.
I think it's pretty dope. And I watched your other interviews, too. And I think that's pretty awesome for you to kind of pick the brains of other people and network, because to me, your network determines your net worth. The more people you know, the more money you make.
For sure. There's some people from those interviews I've actually had hour-long mastermind conversations with, and like, hey, we need to go buy a property in, Baltimore right now while it's cheap. And I laughed, but then I was like, oh man, you really don't. That's actually, it's like $5,000 to buy that empty place. You know what I mean? It's, of course there's going to be work on top of work to do for sure. But just the thought process that this person already thinking outside of the box. Like, they live in New York and they're like, let's go buy some property in New Jersey and in Baltimore because, these things happened and now it's really cheap. Or if there was an investor online that owned it, there's an investor who kind of wants something quiet and easy, and he sees stuff going on in Baltimore, he's going to want to sell, right? He's going to want to get out of his investments. So it's just mindset thinking like that goes, wow, so. But Juan, we're gonna have more conversations, but probably offline. But this is my last question to you, so I don't suck up all your day.
Okay.
If you had to start all over from scratch right now, I'm gonna put you in a good scratch. Let's say you left school and you got the degree, from scratch, and all you got in your pocket is $500. What would you do with that $500?
If I knew what I know now, if I knew
you know everything you know now.
Oh,
everything.
My credit's decent and all that, or it sucks back then. I had the same.
So what I tell people
back then.
This is what I tell people. I give them the blank state to go. Here's $500. You know everything you know now, and you start off on a blank, easy state. Like, for a lot of people, they left college with a degree and good credit because they, like they left with an even. You know what I mean?
Okay, so if I was in Atlanta, the same circumstances, I would market. I would take that $500 and I would get a marketing campaign for out-of-state owners, absentee owners, saying that I would like to buy their house. Yellow letters, a campaign. That's what I would do. Or I would do a website. If I knew everything I knew now, I'll probably have a website started. Or probably use my credit card. If you said I could use credit, or if I can use someone else's, I'll use someone else to pay for the credit card. I mean, pay for the website or what have you, and I'll start selling like educational products, ebooks, and coaching and seminars or courses, stuff like that, and then become an affiliate. I would do that. Because I think that's the biggest misconception people have. Like, I interviewed one guy, right, at when I was in New York City, and he was like, he owns a new construction business. I was like, oh, how long you been doing new construction? I don't. I don't know. I have someone else who does all the work. Me, I just bring what I can to the table. But he has a new construction business, but he doesn't do that. It's the same thing. Like, I have a credit repair business, but I don't do credit repair.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah, you don't have to. As long as you bring something to the table. Your gift might be just business development. You just know how to incorporate people, resources, and orchestrate systems to make things automated. Or you might just be really great at marketing or what have you. So I would do either that, or either real estate, or I'll start a website right away.
I love that. And we're gonna in the future we're gonna pick back up somewhere on a question on that. I like how you finished that out. But Juan, this is what I need you to do. I let every guest tell me, where can people hit you up? Where can they connect to you? Is it Facebook? Is it your website? Here's your time. Let us know where we can find you.
All right, cool. I say my website is www.100% percent finance financed.com 100percentfinance.com. My contact information is on there, and I say hit me up there.
All
Or
right.
my email 100percentfinance@gmail.com. You can hit me up there as well.
Also your YouTube videos. How I
Oh,
found Juan.
yeah. YouTube and also a podcast. I just started a podcast. I'm on have 3 episodes now, so I like doing that too, because like I'm glad you postponed this, because I got a haircut, so now I can look somewhat fresh, you know. But when it comes to, yeah, that's why I said let's do 5, because I can get a haircut and shower and this and that. But when you do a podcast, it doesn't matter. I can have a fro like out to here or something like that, you know, or I don't have to shave for weeks. But as a podcast, you just listen to a voice, and that's easy right there. So you can hit me up on the podcast as well. 100% finance.
All right, so we got to hit Juan up on YouTube. You can hit him up at his website, 100% Finance. I'll put it in the information below our video. Juan, thank you for your time today. I'm definitely going to connect with you some more in the future. Tell everybody, have a great day. This is Ericka from the Classy Climb blog. This is another video in our Slow and Low series with Mr. 100%, Juan Pablo.
All right, thank